The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. I'm your host JD, and I don't know, Kyle's here.
Somewhat.
He's like half here. And hey, Matt's back.
Hey, I'm back.
Yay!
I didn't know I was going to be back until just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back. We kind of dropped the ball on recording this episode, so we had it's kind of a last minute thing, so. And if you guys know me, I always last minute scrambled to find people to be on here.
That's like the definition of you.
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, this week we're going to be talking about Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2, which came out last week. And I don't know, guys, this I went in with lowered expectations just because of the subject matter that was being presented to me. And I don't know, I thought it was just okay.
Yeah. I was excited, and then I wasn't.
Yeah.
I had, my expectations for the movie were just, please be better than Emoji Movie, and it definitely broke those.
Oh, by far. It's much better than the Emoji Movie, so.
Like, even at this movie's, like, could be considered its worst was still better than the entirety of the Emoji Movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I told you guys just before this, but I'm going to let them know. I did watch the movie, but I was also fairly inebriated when I did so. So, there's a bit of the movie that's kind of a haze to me that I had to remind myself about by looking up some spoiler reviews. But I do remember a good chunk of the movie. But I think being drunk while watching it definitely, I remembered liking the movie after I got out. But I feel like maybe if I watched it again sober, maybe I wouldn't like it as much. But just as I currently remember, I did remember liking it. Not as much as the first movie, for sure.
Yeah.
But, just on its own.
Right.
Yeah, on its own.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, basically, so this is obviously a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, which, that was 2010, 2011? I don't remember when the last one came out.
I know in this movie they say 6 years passed. I'm not sure if that's actually real time. It's probably close.
That feels like it's, because we had Zootopia.
2012.
So yeah, it'd be 6 years.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah, because we've had Zootopia, Frozen, Moana. Is that it? That's all we've had?
For regular Disney movies?
Yeah. And Big Hero 6. That's right.
Wow, really?
Yeah. That's a lot.
That's funny. It's weird because Big Hero 6 has a show on and everything right now, but I still forget about it, that it happened. I saw it the one time and then it just completely exited my memory. Not that it wasn't good. I don't know. It didn't leave as lasting an impression.
Yeah, I actually like the show. It's a fun little teenage superhero show. But
I see the toys for it work, but I didn't even know how the actual show was. That's cool though. I've heard the Disney actual television's pretty good.
Yeah,
nowadays.
Disney's television game has been pretty strong the last couple years.
I still want to check out Starverse and DuckTales.
Kyle doesn't care for DuckTales. I like it, but I've never seen the old DuckTales, so I don't have a prejudice.
Sure.
It's pretty hit and miss for me.
But Kyle, they just had the 3 Caballeros on.
Yeah, and that whole show was leagues better than that episode.
You just fall into that camp of they're referencing material that was way better, so it somehow makes it worse by default. It taints the memory.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the previous Wreck-It Ralph movie takes place within an arcade, an arcade. So where do you go from there? Well, I guess we're going to the internet, as they say.
And they did.
And they went to the internet.
They went straight there.
And subsequently broke it. They wrecked.
And then they fixed it.
They wrecked it. They wrecked the internet. Which is a joke.
They wrecked it and then they fixed
that
it.
joke isn't even in the movie. It's in the trailer. But it's not the movie. Which I think they cut out.
Yeah, well, they make a joke about that in the movie, about there being scenes in trailers that aren't in the actual movie.
Yeah, well, there's an... Okay, so I just want to say, before we get too deep into this, we're going to be talking full spoiler, so if you haven't seen it, go do that.
Well, apparently you guys say they shouldn't because it's not good. Or Kyle does anyway.
I think it's worth a watch at least once, especially if you're a fan of the first movie, which I am. I really enjoy the first one.
I think I watched it again before going to see the sequel.
Nice.
And I forgot how good it was.
I think if you like to vomit on yourself, then you should watch this movie because it makes you want to just puke all over.
I think Kyle's being a little hyperbolic, but
or he might be speaking from experience. Kyle, did you vomit while watching the film?
In spirit.
You vomited spiritually.
Yeah.
You vomited internally.
It was just dry heaves.
Gross. But yeah, what I was saying is that they do make a joke at the end where like baby Moana's like, oh, there was this scene in the trailer that I liked, but it wasn't in the movie, and then they cut into that whole scene where they go into the
bunny gets the pancake,
the pancake bunny app. But no, there was the scene somewhere towards the end where they're with that Yes character, and she's all like, I told Ralphie would break the internet, but I didn't mean to literally break the internet. And I think that was a reference back to that scene from the trailer that probably got cut out.
Yeah,
I was telling JD earlier today, it felt like there was a lot of cut stuff from this movie.
Yeah, and I mean,
almost the entire B plot.
Yeah, like they set up that whole side story with Felix and Calhoun that they're like, oh, they're gonna be they're gonna be parents to the Sugar Rush racers.
No, you know what? I was thinking about that, and that was one disappointment about this movie to me, was that there wasn't a lot of Felix and Calhoun. Mm-hmm. But I think that's because, as it's become the tradition now for when the movies get released to Blu-ray and DVD, they always have like a short film that goes along with it. So I've got to believe that the short film that goes with this movie, once it hits home media, will be specifically about that whole plot of Felix and Calhoun raising the Sugar Rush kids.
I never really thought of that.
Yeah, that's not until you say something, you're probably right. That's exactly what's going to happen.
And I really do hope so, because I wanted to see more Felix and Calhoun.
Yeah.
It's like they were barely in the movie.
But, like, see, I'd be fine if that was the case, if they had shown a little bit more in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they set it up at the beginning, you don't see them for the rest of the movie, and then it comes back around at the end. So if they
like it would have been nice, even just a little bit in the middle, like just to remind us like about what was happening.
I mean, I wouldn't mind just like one scene in the middle where they're having trouble raising the kids, and then like and when they come back around at the end, they're perfect and stuff, and it's like, oh well, what happened in between there? And that's what you could do a short film about.
Yeah, exactly.
But so going to the internet instead of old arcade video game references. It's a lot of social media and internet culture references, because the whole premise of this movie is that Vanellope's game breaks, and the only way that they can fix it is if they buy a new steering wheel off eBay, which there's a lot of like name brand website placement here.
Well, it's like there's tons of arcade websites that sell parts, but we've got to go to eBay.
Yeah, well, because you got to pay for eBay.
Well, that was because that was the only thing that the characters in the movie overheard, so that makes sense that would be the only place that they'd really look.
Yeah,
because they don't know what the hell the internet is.
Yeah, and I feel like the kids that whip out their phones to find it, of course they're going to go to eBay immediately. No, they're not going to go look to the Facebook market or anything.
Yeah, they're not going to go to some specialty arcade part shop.
Yeah,
online.
That's what teenagers. Hell, that's where I go for things.
Yeah,
but yeah, like they go to eBay and they show you Twitter is a giant tree full of birds and Instagram is an art gallery.
Yeah. YouTube and BuzzFeed both exist in the movie, I think, but the main thing that they do in the movie is something called BuzzTube, which is like a mixture of the two.
That's one of my biggest problems with the movie, is that they show you YouTube. They mention YouTube by name, but they chose not to use YouTube as the plot device, or as a plot point. Rather, they made up their own video streaming site.
Yeah, it is a little weird, but I kind of get the thought behind it, because they don't want to invest too much of their original IP and get it all tied up with a thing that actually exists outside of their control. Like, it's okay to make a reference to it, but sure. I kind of get why they would do that.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, there's BuzzTube, and I saw a sign in the background. It was called like Buzz Food, I think, something like that. But I never saw anything for BuzzFeed exactly, and I was like, is BuzzFeed gonna sue for taking? Though I think when they say Buzz, I think it's with 3 Z's.
Right.
Like that. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I know at one point in the movie they destroy Pinterest and Wikipedia.
Oh, do they? That might be one of those things that I kind of
there's
like.
Because the whole when Ralph's fighting the giant amalgam Ralph at the end, he takes the giant thumbtack out of Pinterest's office and throws it at him. And then then one of the towers he stands on, I had to take a second look because he was like standing on a book, but then when it zooms out, it says Wikipedia on it, and they just destroy Wikipedia. So I mean, there's funny stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like they could have taken advantage a little more of having all of these social media things. But like they use a lot of the terminology because, they go to eBay, or they bid on this steering wheel for the game, which they have no concept of what money is, so they just keep throwing out higher numbers until they bid $20,000 on a steering wheel.
I mean, everyone at some point in their life has thought that bidding was just saying the highest number, to be fair.
Yeah.
They go, guys, we're video game characters. We don't have any money. It's like, okay.
Yeah. But, so they go to this, like, GTA-looking world because they find this guy who says, if you can get this character's car, this real-world person will pay you, like, $50,000 for it, which...
I didn't even get this whole concept myself, because it's like, alright, is she a non-player character? Is she an actual person in this game?
I think Shank is a character within the game, because there's stuff like, I don't know, like StarCraft, or like there's like these MMOs that people will pay real world money for, like, ships and stuff.
It's like, oh, this person's gonna pay $40,000 for a car, and it's just like, I can sustain my disbelief for a little bit, but
listen, I mean, all I know is that people bought horse armor for, like in Elder Scrolls. So
yeah,
I think they'll buy anything.
People will, people will buy just stupid things for video game in-game stuff. But yeah, that doesn't work. And here's where my one of my biggest gripes with the logic of this world is Shank, the leader of the GTA murder world, car world, tells him to go talk to this person on the BuzzTube website that will get them to help them become viral media stars. So they go there, and I wish the YouTube algorithm worked like this, or this is just how the old people writing this thought the YouTube algorithm works.
Right.
Because, like, they said, oh, you get this many likes and you get $1. And there's like, okay, so you need to get this many likes to reach your goal of $20,000 within this span of time. So Ralph's going around making all these viral videos to rack up money. It's like, it's not that... I don't think it's that easy to make money off of viral videos. No. Especially in that short amount of time.
No, exactly.
And like this website is paying you out immediately. Like, I don't know what website does that.
I don't know. I don't know if it's looking too into it too, but when you look at him in his own game, he's all pixelated.
Mhm.
He's in Pac-Man World, he's pixelated. You go to Heroes Duty, he's all HD, fully rendered, all this kind of stuff. Sugar Rush, I would say it would have to be like PlayStation 1 graphics for that, but
yeah,
he's the same. But then you go to the internet and he's making videos and he's all like fully rendered and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's looking too into it or what.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it too much.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be like in a video on the internet, but he's just like John C. Reilly, like in fucking makeup and a wig, and like
That'd be amazing. But so the other thing that was bugging me about this is there's so many, like, when you really think about this and it really breaks the logic of this world. So, one, how do characters in a video game create their own social media site? How do they create their own PayPal account? How is at the end of the movie does Shank just code Vanellope into Slaughter Race, and that's not going to be a problem?
Copyright and all this stuff.
That's what I'm saying, is that, like, as soon as the people who... Because Slaughter Race is a modern game that is getting regular updates, you think the developers aren't going to see Vanellope in that game and try to take her out of it because it's like someone hacked this into her game?
You know what? I've heard enough stories about like indie developers and stuff that just like, people working on their own thing and like them just sort of plugging it in and nobody else knowing that. Like, I could believe Vanellope just showing up in the game and everyone else sort of believing like, oh, okay, just somebody else fucking plugged her in. Like,
I don't.
I could believe that on myself, but
my problem with it was, how does a fucking arcade machine get a virus?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They were like, Tron got a virus, and it's like, how? That's like saying, well, even though you can get a virus on your cell phone.
Kyle, it was just there to set up the virus plot point later on.
I know. Well, I mean, saying I got a virus on my printer, you guys.
That could happen.
That could happen. I kind of just took that as like I don't know. I didn't really think about them calling it a virus so much. It's like, because there's stuff in Wreck-It Ralph 1 where arcade machines got taken out because they were they're all fucked up, and it wasn't necessarily a virus or glitches or anything. That was just the game's breaking. So I just kind of viewed it at that, like it was supposed to be that.
I think they had to call it a virus because Vanellope's thing is glitching out.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Call it a glitch. Yeah. So it makes sense in the context, but it doesn't make sense in the
right.
Logic of the world.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, there's just a lot of like logic jumps, at least for me, that I don't feel like the first movie. I feel like the first movie stuck to its rules pretty consistently.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Compared to the first movie, the arcade, like the little power strip world they live, the little train station world that they go in, there's like hardly anybody there anymore.
Whoa. Yeah, well, I kind of thought like they definitely removed all the Nintendo references since they struck up that deal with Illumination in the time between the first movie and this movie.
Yeah, so basically it's like Namco's characters, some Street Fighter characters. Sonic's there, and then I think Konami, I saw in the credits, had a few things, but I didn't see anything explicit. But I mostly saw like Pac-Man and the Dig Dug characters, and
One thing I brought up to JD was the whole thing in the first movie where they have to make her part of the game, and then he realizes, oh, she's on the fucking box or whatever.
Oh, she's on the side of the cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's part of the game, whatever. Well, in this one, they clearly hid the side of the cabinet they moved the cabinet, but they made it hidden so you can't see both sides of it.
Because
so
of
question that.
Right, because if she would be removed from the game and she's in Slaughter Race, then I guess they would.
It's like having
I
Mario
didn't think
Kart.
about that.
It's like having Mario Kart and then Mario's missing from the game.
Mario is missing for the CD-ROM.
See, that was another question, because Melanie and I had like a whole discussion on the way home from the theater when we saw this. Another thing is that there's like people who went over to Japan specifically to play like the Mario Kart VR game. So there's people who like obsess over this like video game stuff, like this arcade video game stuff. If Vanellope, this is just one Sugar Rush cabinet. This is one arcade that's, self-contained. There's other Sugar Rush cabinets out there, and by extension, there's other Fix-It Felix cabinets out there.
Yeah.
So if Vanellope's not in this one version of the game, you think some nerd on the internet's not going to find it at some point and wonder what's going on?
I mean, it's just one of those things where the game's not working as it's intended to. I mean, there's a lot of logic.
There's a lot of logic jumps that like just nitpicking it kind of just destroys the story, and it's like, it's Wreck-It Ralph. You're not supposed to put this much thought into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
One nitpick that I had though, that I don't know. She keeps saying that she has 3 tracks, but they completely redid the first race or the last race or whatever from the first movie. Same track or anything. Would have been nice to see something new. But it was like same assets from the last movie.
She says she has like 3 tracks, but you only ever see the one.
Yeah, I was under the impression that because in the actual race that you see in the first movie, it's like the big long one to determine who's going to be the characters for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just assumed that race went across all the courses in the whole game because it looked like there's specific areas on the map, and I just kind of assumed all those areas were self-contained maps, and then the one big long race kind of encompassed all of them.
Right.
So that was weird that they said that there was only like the 3 maps because it's kind of like I don't know. It's one of those things of them just sort of changing stuff from the first movie and hoping you don't notice, like to sort of make it work for the story.
Yeah.
How about dated meme, guys?
Oh god.
How about Chewbacca Dad? Remember that?
There's a lot of dated meme humor in here, and I want to watch this movie again in like 5 years just to see how much more dated it is.
The whole the Rickroll thing, I was seeing that in high school. Like, that's dated already. That's almost 10 years now.
Listen, though, I'm going to defend this. The stuff that they referenced could have been way older and way more plentiful. I think what they did, like the amount that they did it and what they chose was okay. Like, yeah, the movies definitely will seem dated later on, but I don't know. I feel like, Rickrolling, that's a timeless.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Viral video to reference.
I think Rickrolling, especially that, like, just with that song, I think that's so synonymous with pop culture now that, like, that's kind of a timeless joke.
Yeah, so that's okay. And some of the other stuff is a bit too recent to sort of see if it's like none of the other stuff's going to be as timeless to sort of reference. But I did one of the things I know is probably going to be dated here in the next couple of years is that when they go to CES, she's flipping through all the things that, like, what's trending right now, and that Fortnite shot was phoned in the last couple of months. Oh, totally.
Like, there's that, and I think there's a sign for Fortnite in the background. They went in the last couple of months and stuck that in.
Yeah. No, and apparently Ralph is in Fortnite right now. Like, there's a drive-in theater in the game that he, like, shows up on or something.
So,
which is like,
Fortnite
I guess
struck
Disney's
a deal with Disney.
Yeah. Well, no, but Disney struck a deal with them when Infinity War came out, too, with all the Thanos stuff.
I forgot about that.
So I'm thinking, like, I'm kind of wondering, this is like their second time they're like kind of partnering up with them. At some point, there's going to be like, some big announcement that they bought out, Epic Games or whoever the hell makes it. Like,
I'm waiting for it.
There's a lot of money to be made on that, but I mean, they're at least going to continue on with like the collaborations and stuff for sure.
Yeah. So how did you guys like the Disney wank scene? Section of the movie.
I mean, it's cool to be like, oh, hey, look, Grumpy is fully CG now.
Mhm.
Hey, Eeyore, but I don't know. I feel like Buzz Lightyear was the Infinity model.
Yeah, I did want to. So that's the thing. It's weird seeing Disney animate Pixar characters because Buzz does not look at all on model.
No.
Which is weird because he's supposed to look like a weird, like a plasticky, like toy. Like they have this technology. Clearly, Pixar has the technology to do that,
It's
but
just
Disney.
it's weird because it's like
Pixar doesn't.
Disney owns Pixar. You think they couldn't just walk next door and say, "Hey, can we borrow your Buzz Lightyear model to stick in here?" Because this off-model Buzz Lightyear that they made is standing right next to a perfectly on-model Baymax.
I think I had a bit more of a problem seeing CGI Muppet.
Well, I didn't really pay it too much mind just because it's just a head of Kermit on a pavilion.
It still seemed very weird to see alongside characters that are usually in that realm.
And see,
like I would have loved if it was just actual, like they green screened in some real Muppets.
see, that would have been funny because even there's the part where they're doing the Princess Q&A, and in the background they like they chroma keyed out this scene of like the park ranger and the bear picking up litter in the background. And it's all 2D, and they're just walking around back there.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you couldn't have just gotten like a green screen Kermit just flailing his arms.
Yeah. I'll tell you one scene I bet they kind of regret in hindsight now is there's the Baby Groot scene in there, and I think now with them trying to sort of bury Guardians with all the James Gunn stuff, like I'm wondering if they were kind of kicking themselves for including that.
I don't know. There's a Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon that's on Disney XD. I think is doing pretty well for them. So I think Guardians is still marketable for them, and I think they're just like internally just trying to figure out what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah,
they'll still make Guardians 3 with or without James Gunn, but I think they just kind of put it on the back burner for now to give it some time to cool up. I guess.
They got to figure out if they're going to get all their freaking actors back. Right? It seems like they don't want to. Yeah, so that's the big thing. Anyway, we even have to go into all that right now. That's a topic for another time. But as far as the whole Disney stuff, like because the whole marketing for this movie, it seemed like at least all the stuff I saw. I don't have cable, so I don't know what any of like the actual commercials were like. But just all the trailers and stuff, it seemed to all really focus on just that particular scene of Vanellope hanging out with the Disney princesses.
Which it really feels like they wrote the movie around that scene.
Although I don't know, I did like that all the marketing sort of just focused on the one thing because movie trailers nowadays, they play like so many of like the key moments of a film that there's like no surprises left. So
yeah,
it does suck because I mean, like, could you imagine if this scene, like, if we didn't know about it before going to the movies, like that, it would have been incredible to see. Like,
that would have just been an out of nowhere kind of scene.
Yeah, and it would have been awesome. But because it just focused on that one scene, everything else in the movie that like most of the movie we didn't really know about, which would have been good if there was more memorable stuff about the movie, but just the thought of them sort of limiting their marketing and like that, like I kind of like that in some ways, but I do dislike it in some ways too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like half and half with the Disney stuff. I think on the one hand, that whole scene where she goes to the Oh My Disney website was kind of Disney's way of saying like, look at all these things that we own, and they're just kind of showing off a little bit.
Oh, totally.
And I would have been fine with that had that been the end of it. I don't like that the princesses come back at the end.
I like that only because it was more stuff that it was a surprise. We didn't know that was going to happen. That was more,
I don't know. I felt like once Vanellope left the princesses, they left Oh My Disney, that's where that whole look at our Disney references should have ended. But like they come out of nowhere. It's like Disney Princess Ex Machina at the end.
Yeah.
Because Ralph is going to die from falling off a building.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny watching all the princesses interact and kind of using their own kind of unique skills to
quirks
to save him. But at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, you built up this, like, oh, we've got every Disney princess and their original voice actors back, well, everyone who's still alive. Um, I think one of them was Jennifer. I think Cinderella is Jennifer Hale these days.
Right.
But yeah, I think they're like, oh,
although they have all the modern ones back,
yeah, they said everyone who's still living voiced their original characters.
Which is cool.
Yeah. One thing I did think was kind of funny is that during the Vanellope's time with the princesses, they're like saying how they sing a song to like kind of resolve their feelings about something.
Oh yeah,
and they actually gave Vanellope a princess song, and I love that they actually got Alan Menken to write it.
Yeah, no, that was a cool little bit.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to give this a movie praise for is something I thought just looking at it, I know must have been a pain in the ass to make. Was the amalgam Ralph, because it's just this giant Wreck-It Ralph made of tinier Wreck-It Ralphs that are constantly just crawling over each other, and just every time they zoom in on it, it's just all these Ralphs just like crawling over each other, just constantly moving, and it's like, I don't even want to know who had to do that, and like that must have been a pain.
No, totally.
There's programs for that.
The what?
So there's programs for that.
I know, like, but just like the concept of like rendering this giant character made of tinier versions of itself, and just they're constantly moving around. I mean, that's
I thought still people that got to make those programs to make that happen.
Right. I just thought the concept of that character and how it's made up of tinier versions of itself. I just thought that was kind of a very cool look visually.
For sure.
Do you think the movie really needed a bad guy or a big?
See,
Ralph is the bad guy.
That's what I think.
He's bad and that's good.
See,
that's what I mean. Did that really need to be something?
I think
held the movie by itself without having a villain.
See, I don't think there is a true villain. Yes, Ralph's insecurity manifests itself as a giant monster, becomes a problem, but it's not like the first movie where King Candy is the clear antagonist that you have to fight against. Whereas it's more of Ralph overcoming a self-confidence issue or his dependence, I guess. So I don't think it has really a true villain. So I think had they made, because I was half expecting for Yes to be like to turn on them for some reason, and she was.
I think everyone did.
I expected her to be the villain, and no, she's fine through the whole movie, and she helps them out the whole way, so she's perfectly fine. I think
that's good that they did sort of subvert expectations in that way. Because I mean, if everyone was thinking that she was going to be the villain, then it's good that they didn't, because then it would have just been predictable, which would have been another strike.
Yeah, I mean, I totally saw like Yes was going to like try to enslave Ralph to whore him out to make memes and stuff like that. So.
Right. Like the only reason people thought she was going to be a villain because they didn't show any other fucking characters, and Disney likes to be like, oh yeah, this guy's the bad guy now.
Well, I don't know. I think.
It's like at the last second, like what they did in Frozen.
Yeah. Frozen has its own problems.
Yeah.
But I think it's like what Matt said. I think it was nice that they didn't show too much of the movie in the trailers, because trailers these days just go overboard on spoiling things.
Just
so
like, hey guys, buy this $90 princess set.
Yeah.
I mean, people will.
I know people have bought it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think all in all, I'm glad I saw this, because I do like Wreck-It Ralph, the first one, and I was interested to see how they could expand on that world. I don't know if it 100% works. There's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff, so I'm not in any rush to see this again, but I'm glad I did see it.
Right.
I think I can go my entire life without seeing this movie.
I definitely want to see it at least once, like sober, so I can know for sure, like if I like it or not. Because I definitely, in my current state, I do. But I'll probably wait until it hits like the dollar theater to see it again, just to be sure.
I saw a Russian cam rip of it, and I didn't get to see all the cool little Easter eggs and stuff. And I am finally sated to never see this movie ever again.
Jesus. Kyle's just passionately against this movie.
God. Oh, that's cool. I mean, we got the whole spectrum covered.
The
here.
whole
We got
spectrum.
somebody who really hates it, somebody that pretty much liked it, and somebody who was just indifferent to it.
Well, it was like I watched Teen Titans Go to the movie like right afterwards, and I enjoyed that movie like tenfold on this movie. And as far as like self-filleting jokes and stuff, I feel like they did it in a less obnoxious way. And that's talking about Teen Titans Go.
I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to kick myself for saying this. I still don't like Teen Titans Go, and I will fully admit that Wreck-It Ralph 2 is a better movie. I did enjoy watching Teen Titans Go to the movies more than this. Just because I laughed at it.
Right. I'd heard the movie was, pretty good as compared to the series.
Like I said, I genuinely do not like the TV show, but I still thought the movie was pretty funny.
Right. Well, they both had Stan Lee cameos. That's
true. This Wreck-It Ralph does have a Stan Lee cameo, which is really kind of sad that he died like a week earlier.
Yeah.
So that's sad. Rest in peace, Steve.
You'll get it.
Stan Lee died and Steven Hillenburg died today, so sad times.
Yeah, it's really this whole year has just been kind of.
Everyone's dying.
We gotta get into it, right? Yeah, we don't really.
It's like that year that like Michael Jackson and like a bunch of other people, big name people, died at the same time.
Yeah.
Except now we're getting more into like nerd culture, so
yeah,
the nerd people are dying. But yes, it's very sad. So is there anything else you guys want to say about Wreck-It Ralph before we wrap up?
Oh, I wanted to say, the movie does seem to end on a pretty, I mean, the first movie ended in a way that it didn't really seem like, like they would leave wiggle room for a sequel, but maybe not. Like it could have been fine as is, but then they ended up making this. But then the ending of this kind of feels like that same way, like they could or could not make a sequel and they'd be able to. Well, anyway, so what I'm saying is, if they made it a trilogy and they made a third movie, like where could they go? Like from here, because the first movie is them going across arcades, second movie is them going to the internet. So the logical step has to be real life, right? Like they have to be walking.
My guess is, God forbid they make a third one, because I really don't want them to.
Reality.
Yeah, they're gonna go into VR.
Oh God.
VR chat.
Yeah. They're gonna find Second Life.
VR chat. Yeah.
No, this is the thing that I always wanted to see kind of get addressed, but it never happened. I mean, he's not the only Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, okay, that reminds me. I wanted to bring this up. I know Disney would never do it because it's acknowledging an illegal activity. There are ROM sites. Someone has a ROM of Fix-It Felix Jr. on that you can play on an arcade emulator. Oh. I wanted Ralph to find it.
Well, I was thinking, like, there's other arcades and there's other Wreck-It Ralphs, and hey, maybe one's cool with being a bad guy. There's personalities and different shit like this. And if he's on Fix-It Felix Jr., there could always be the first game or something like that.
So, I think when they said they wanted to do a sequel, I think originally they were wanting to maybe explore, like, home consoles. So,
that's what I remember.
What if, so he has access to the internet now. What if he goes to the internet, accesses, like, someone's Xbox or something, but they've got, like, or like how Nintendo does, like, did the virtual console. Someone has a copy of Fix-It Felix Jr. on their Xbox or whatever, and he goes into that. And you could, like, start getting, instead of, like, doing old arcade references, you can get, like, modern gaming stuff. So you can get, like, I don't know, like Halo and shit like that.
I think another route that they could take is, I think, like, in that same vein where they can, travel to home consoles and stuff, but I'd like if, they kind of discovered that Fix-It Felix is like its own, like it spawned all these sequels that they had no idea about because they've been stuck in this one game, and like so they basically come across like they explore like this whole saga of Fix-It Felix games where like they go into like N64 PS1 era but like Bubsy 3DS like
I want to see
like,
I want to see like an N64 or PS1 like polygon as hell Fix-It Felix game.
And so, like, they're going across all these different generations of
like
and like they're
the gritty like Bomberman Zero reboot.
Yeah, no, exactly. But so the whole point of the movie is like them trying to tell them like, oh no, this is not who you are, and this is not what it is. Like, bring it back to basics. Like, you wreck stuff. He fixes things. Like, and it's just I feel like that could be
if they did a movie where Ralph and Felix figure out there's this entire like series of Felix whatever games out there that is just like constantly making sequels that they have no knowledge about, I would love that, and I'd be okay with the sequel. Yeah. That's good. That's some good stuff right there.
Yeah, that'd be cool if they did.
Yeah. So anything else, guys?
Not that I can think of. I think we pretty much covered all there needed to be
Kyle,
covered.
you have any more tirades you need to go on?
Nah.
Alright, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week, and hope you enjoyed our ripping apart of Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Our wrecking of Wreck-It Ralph.
We wrecked it!
Ralph
We're gonna wreck it.
Wrecking.
Yeah, so in the comments, let us know what you think. Like, if you prefer this movie or the first movie. I'd be interested to see where the division.
If anyone prefers the second.
I don't know. I've seen a few people on Twitter that I follow saying they like the second one better. I don't agree with them, but everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. Oh, I know we posted links to it before, but we were on the Pizza Party podcast this week, so head on over to Pan Pizza Rebel Taxi's YouTube page and check that out. That was a fun time.
I'm gonna go listen to it right now.
Yeah. Alright, well, thanks for being here, guys, and thanks to everyone else for listening, and we'll be back next week with something else.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch a new episode every week. Also be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Twitter so you can keep up with the show. Links are in the description. We'll see you next week.